What is going on, guys? Thank you for joining us. It's the 16th of the 2nd. We are here for the Monday night show, and we have special guest, Second Yellow Card. Cheers for joining us, pal.
No worries, man.
People who listened last week will know James didn't make it back from work in time, but he is here from the start. Good evening, James.
Good evening.
And Ryan, as always, who we won't go to because we know how depressing he sounds. Good evening, Ryan.
Good evening.
People will see in the background we do not have FootballManagerCentral.com. That is because tonight is the start of a new feature on every show we will do, which is called FM Fan Sites. People will know that from Twitter, hashtag FM Fan Sites. And you will see we are advertising tonight Passion for FM. Now, as described in their bar at the top, it says, the essence of Football Manager, best guides, wonderkids and tactics. Now, it is a fantastic site, and we know Espen well, who owns the site. And if you scroll down, you'll find he does have a lot of stuff. You'll actually see on the menu at the top, the wonderkids, tactics, guides, graphics, and it goes on the clubs and leagues and challenges. Obviously, I would assume 99% of people know Passion for FM. I'll go to yourself, Second Yellow Card. Know how you do?
Yeah, no, of course. It's sort of one of the sites I use when I'm looking for little things that I think might improve the game. So database updates, less database, but more scenarios and stuff like that. Like I think I looked on there. They did a 25 level pyramid, I believe, was on their site.
That
was quite interesting.
is there, the English Law League level 24.
24, yeah.
I think I'm pretty sure he's one of the only sites to have that on as well, so fair play. Now, I do know James is on there, and you will actually see it at the top, the Football Manager Whizzkids transfer database, James.
Yeah, it's just been updated there about half an hour ago, as it has on your website too and everybody else, so that's me done for the week, updating. Well, updating on websites, but I still keep updating myself.
Fantastic news. Like I say, get it downloaded, lads, if it's Passion for FM or FootballManagerCentral.com. Either way, get it downloaded. And one post I do want to pick out from Passion for FM is, where is it? I was just reading it. I will find it, 1 second. There we go, 700 plus under 21 talents in a Wonderkid list, Ryan.
God.
That is impressive, and it is a ginormous list. Now, Espen is famous around the FM community for his long posts, and that will be a long one. 700 plus. I wouldn't know where to start. You imagine how long you squad it if you only signed a certain percentage of them, Mr. Yellow.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine you'd end up with a huge amount of talent. I mean, it's not the sort of thing I generally use myself, just because I like to try and find my own regens, because I personally find that makes the game more entertaining. But that's the sort of thing that, if you're new to the game, will be absolutely, priceless.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, I'm the same. I like to find my own, but there are a lot of people who use our site as well as other sites for stuff like that. So, but yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to Passion for FM, our first hashtag FM fan sites on our show, and there will be a new one on Thursday night show, but we will move over to our website for the remainder of this show. I'm sure we'll understand. But we will move on to some topics. Now, there is a topic I want to get into, but I'm going to leave it for later, which is discussing reputations and how they affect football, etc. Now, when James brought that up, I think it was yourself that brought up, James, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as you brought that up, the first thing I thought was Second Yellow Card going mental. The fact that his players don't get in Team of the Year, etc. But we're actually going to save that because I've got a feeling he's going to go on a massive rant. So we will start with the FA Cup games. How many of them did you see, Ryan? Or do you want me to tell you the scores first? I'll go through the scores first.
Yeah, go through the scores first, because I've seen a few of them.
Saturday, 14th of February's results were West Brom 4, West Ham 0, Blackburn 4, Stoke 1, Derby 1, Reading 2, Crystal Palace 1, Liverpool 2. I could get a job on BBC with this. Sunday the 15th of February, my birthday. Aston Villa 2, Leicester 1, Bradford 2, Sunderland 0. Arsenal 2, Middlesbrough 0. Good day for the North East clubs who took the piss out of us, James. Preston 1, Manchester United 3, which has just ended. Another fantastic night for Falcao. But go on, Ryan, we'll go over to yourself.
Yeah, I'm not going to go. We'll go to the Man United game later on. I can start ranting then about Falcao because he was absolutely awful today. But I think I'm going to pick out the Aston Villa game, a game that Tim Sherwood has had, and Tim Sherwood seemed to motivate the players at half-time. Seems to be, I think, the man for the job at Aston Villa, and I'm hoping that they can improve from now on, hoping that Cleverley can improve rather than passing backwards or sideways, which he just seems to be doing. I think I saw him make a few forward passes in that game. I had to rub my eyes a few times to make sure it was actually Cleverley that was doing it. But there's still a few things that they need to improve, like their reliance on Benteke. He was getting forced wide because some of the players weren't working hard enough. So hopefully Tim Sherwood can come in and make a difference.
Before we go, James, I will just say on the Benteke situation, I saw an interesting picture there which showed in 35 games he scored 23, I think it was, and then in the last 35 he scored 8. I think it was 8. But either way, he'd had the exact same amount of shots, which was 82. So it was a bit of a shock to see that he's still getting in them situations. He's still creating just as many chances, he's just not putting them away. What do you think of Sherwood and Villa in general, James?
Well, I'm not a big fan of Aston Villa as a club, but I think they've got the right man. I think he's got quite a lot of drive, Tim Sherwood. As for the Benteke situation, well, he is getting in the right places, as you say, but maybe it's just lack of confidence as he went a while injured. Maybe he's too complacent with these chances because he knows he's the main man at the team and he knows he's probably more than likely gone in the summer to a bigger and better club with European football. Maybe he's just too relaxed about it. He doesn't feel like he has to work for his place in the team anymore.
That could be it. That nail on the head there, I think, was he doesn't feel like he has to work for the place. He's just getting in even, no matter what he does. But when the likes of Al Bongler or that guy, when he's the backup, you kind of understand why, because he makes Benteke look amazing. Well, Benteke is just not looking it at the minute.
Well, I read the other day that it might just be a lack of confidence in Aston Villa at the moment, that Darren Bent has scored more goals at Derby on loan in a month than Villa have in 2015 until the weekend passed.
Just ridiculous, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it's terrible.
What about yourself, Mr. Yellow? What do you think of Tim Sherwood getting the job?
Personally, I'm the opposite of a huge fan of Tim Sherwood, essentially. I don't particularly rate him that highly. I mean, I'm happy to be proved wrong if he does well for Villa. My girlfriend's a Villa fan, so I'm sure she'd be happy. But I can't stand the man, like, personally. But obviously that doesn't mean anything about his footballing ability in terms of a manager. I just thought that, I don't know, he seems to have ruled himself out of so many jobs, like, already, for some apparent reason, and it does seem strange that he took the Villa job. I can understand possibly why he took that one over the QPR job. I sure as hell would have, because I think Villa have got a much better chance at staying up than QPR. They do have decent players. Not that QPR don't, it's just that Villa seem to have a better team overall, whereas QPR seem to have a great amount of individuals that have yet to really be able to gel properly. But I personally just don't rate Tim Sherwood as a manager yet. I don't think he's really proven anything, and he seems to have a reputation, maybe a little bit undeserved, as being some kind of excellent manager. And the BBC do really seem to be spinning that quite heavily lately. Like, they seem to be very harsh, very, very few critical comments about him, whereas it all seems to be very positive, like giving him a lot of credit for things that happened in that game when he really couldn't have had that much of an impact on it, I don't think.
I think the more of the impact for them winning might have been his presence going into the dressing room, but did as you said, was his impact that great? I'm not sure. On the side of QPR, I think I'd rather just not have a job than be the manager of QPR, to be honest, because I think if you had to pick a club who is just screwed, I think it's QPR. They just seem to have a team full of players who you don't really want, or other clubs have just kind of went, he wants too much wage, or he's just crap. And they've gone, well, we'll have him, and we'll pay him more as well, just to give him a bit extra.
They've dug themselves an incredible... Sorry.
Yeah, no, go on, what were you going to say?
They've dug themselves an incredibly big hole, and they were a lot of people say they were pretty lucky to get out of the Championship last season, considering how they got battered in the playoff final. But I mean, they did manage to get up, but really with the squad they had, they shouldn't have been challenging for playoffs. They should have been winning that league. And now that they're struggling in the Premier League, I've heard rumours about the fact that if they were to get relegated from the Premier League, they could find themselves facing huge fines for breaking financial fair play rules in the Football League, which could leave them even not being readmitted. I don't know how true that actually is, but it certainly isn't a good situation for them at the moment, and I really don't think maybe even Chris Ramsey is the sort of person that they needed. I know Tony Fernandez said that he'd found his dream manager, and I really doubt that man was Chris Ramsey, so I'm not really sure what was going on with that either.
Maybe he's found somebody else.
I really doubt that owner. I don't think he knows what he's talking about half the time.
Well, maybe he's found someone else to come in at the end of the year, and that's who he's talking about. So when Chris Ramsey balls us up in going, I didn't mean this guy. I meant when we go down, I've got the perfect guy to bring us back up. What's your thoughts, James? You've got your ear to the ground due to you doing the transfer database. What's your opinion on QPR? Have you heard anything about the finances if they do go down?
Not really, but I think Tony Fernandez is more wealthy man than led on. We have seen in the transfer windows like we're not going to spend any more money or we don't have any more money to spend, but I think if push comes to shove, he would sort them out. I think he's got more money than we know.
Yeah, I mean, he owns one of the Formula 1 teams, so he didn't he? So, I mean,
yeah,
that's basically a sport just to chuck money around, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think he owns, is it Air Asia as well?
Is that who he owns?
I think so, something like that.
Like you said, they've got more money than sense, some of them as well, though, haven't they, as well?
Mm.
What about, go on, Ryan? You normally make a noise when you're going to speak.
Yeah, I was just looking about he does own Air Asia, and I think he owned a Malaysian Formula 1 company. I'm just trying to look up now.
Yeah, I think...
What I usually do when topics come up, I start searching for things.
Well, there you go. See, our searcher. We've got James, who did a fantastic job a couple of weeks ago. And do you know what? This is how long since we've spoke to James. I haven't actually had a chance to thank him on the transfer deadline day. James took such a back seat for that show, and he just kind of updated us on a very dull transfer deadline day. So thanks for that, James.
Yeah, no problem. It wasn't the most exciting one, actually.
I was worrying we were going to have to start sending electric shocks down just to keep you awake. But we're going to the next topic just quickly, Ryan. We'll go on to your beloved Manchester United against Preston just to just to go on to the next FA Cup game. So I think this is a game that needs to be talked about because it's just finished, just been on TV. And before I go to you, Ryan, did you two lads see it?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Sorry, James, what?
I never seen it. I just seen Wayne Rooney's incident. That's it.
Didn't bother watching the highlights. Right, go on, Ryan. Do you want to tell us how crap you were?
Awful. I mean, we haven't been playing very well recently, anyway, as it is. But today is another game where we've come out with a win. Luckily, by being lucky, which is what Man United have been recently. Falcao. I don't think. Go on. What were you going to say?
I was going to say I don't even know. Like you were saying, lucky, but I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't even say they had luck. it sounds silly because you did win. It was lucky, but the team comes across as they don't even have luck. They're just literally dreadful.
Yeah,
it really is.
The play is so lackadaisical and slow. It's not the Man United that I've been used to watching over the years, where it's been, especially under Alex Ferguson, it's all very quick and everything has quick transitions. Now it's just so boring to watch, and just like you want to take the players and go, hurry up, do something. There's just some moments where there's a moment where Ander Herrera, I think he took 3 steps away from the ball, wanting to cross it, and you just like, what are you doing? Either cross it in or don't.
I know someone.
Go on.
No, someone posted a video on Facebook, and it just said, I think it was in our Football Central group, and someone posted just saying United under Ferguson. It was literally just them closing down play. No, like they threw about 5 or 6 tackles in at the same time. And it was great play. It was like watching how Preston were against United at times tonight. They were throwing themselves in. United, like you say, I mean, I don't know what you think, Mr. Yellow, but I just think they just seem like they couldn't be asked to play.
They just, as Ryan said, they look completely lackadaisical. Like, their play just seems incredibly ponderous, and like they feel as if they're going to score no matter what they do. And when they don't score, Van Gaal complains about it, and it doesn't seem to have changed. Like, I know they scored 3 goals today, but I mean, the third one, I mean, obviously, you can talk about that one for ages, but they just don't seem to, like, I don't know, I've not really watched Van Gaal's teams before, so when he was at Bayern and Barca or whatever, but if this is the way, it can't be the same way that those teams played. He must be doing something slightly different at United, or the players just aren't listening to him.
I think, as well, what drove me crazy, I actually posted on our Football Central group, it drove me crazy that before the match they kind of asked him a question pointing towards, which players do you think are Preston are going to cause you difficulty tonight? And he just looked confused as if to think, I don't know anyone. And he just kind of went, long balls. It's his excuse for everything. I swear, honestly, if that came up on Football Manager, you'd end up using the comment box below on the replies, and you'd just give him abuse.
And it's ironic, really, considering how many long passes they've attempted this season. I think they're in the top. They're either the highest number of long passes attempted, or at least in the top 2 in the Premier League, definitely.
In the previous managers, it's been the most.
Yeah.
I think what I've got to ask, Ryan, is you're doing, obviously, your journeyman save, trying to get to United. When you get to United, will you play that style of football?
I never play that style of football. I've been told off by many boards that they want me to play direct football, and I just laugh them off and go, haha, I've won the league, you can stop moaning about your shitty direct football now. I'll play my style of pass.
I don't understand why a board would say, right, I want you to play direct.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I've not had Barcelona say it. That's just a little giveaway of where I am at the moment, but...
You've ruined it.
No.
Yeah, I'm just going to balls to United. They're no worth talking about them, and they're dreadful. We'll go on to the next, one of the shocks of the weekend, I would say. Behind Bradford, Bradford beating Sunderland, I almost kind of expected it. The shock to me is Blackburn 4, Stoke 1, James.
Yeah, it was some performance. I did see the game, and that Rudy Gestede up front, he really looks a comfortable player. He's probably the most relaxed player I've ever seen on the pitch, but he produces the quality to go with it. He kind of reminds me of Adebayor a bit, but he, as I say, he produces the quality, and he looks a really good player. And he was the standout for me, although he scored 1 goal and Josh King got a hat-trick, but Blackburn were very impressive. Good win.
I do like how you said most relaxed player on the pitch. And literally the first thing that came into my head was about to say, whoa, more than Adebayor? that guy looks like he can't be bothered to move half the time. Do you have any players like that, Mr. Yellow, on any of your saves who are just very relaxed players who you just kind of sell because they are so lazy? Or it comes across like they're lazy?
I can't remember any off the top of my head, but in real life, you can look no further than people like Berbatov. He was probably one of the most relaxed-looking footballers in the world. I'm pretty certain that at times it looked like he may as well have had a deck chair in the middle of the pitch with like a cup of tea, because he barely moved at times. And when he used to take those penalties, and it would just trickle into the net as if he's just like, yeah, I do this every day. He almost shrugged them into the net.
I think it's I think Berbatov's one of them players. Adebayor, when I watch him, I can turn around and say, I hate this guy. But Berbatov, some weeks you would get so angry at him. Then other weeks, I'm sure Ryan is sorry, Mr. Yellow, I've asked before. What team do you support?
I'm a Fulham fan.
I thought you were. I knew it was someone depressing. But yeah,
Says
Ryan.
the Newcastle fan.
Hey, we are not depressed. We are on the up. Hashtag carve it in. Yeah, sure. Jesus.
Into what?
Yeah, into the bin. But Ryan, as a United fan, watching Berbatov for them years, what was it like? Did you appreciate? Because he was a very skillful player. He's not like Adebayor, who is just playing the crap. He actually is quite skillful. What was it like? I mean, he could have done so much more, surely.
Well, yeah, he could have done so much more. There was just times when I didn't realise he's on the pitch, and then suddenly he scored a goal, and Berbatov's actually playing today. So if he's popping up with goals, then, well, he's not at Man United now, but when he popped up with goals for Man United, I'm obviously very happy, but sometimes you just like, where's Berbatov? It's like Ozil at Arsenal. He seems to disappear in games sometimes.
That's another player I can't
we can see him
decide
change in the future.
I can't decide if I like him or not. What are you, James? Do you like Ozil?
I'm not really sure, to be honest. He's hit and miss.
He seems to have come back from injury a bit better, and he looks, if it was possible, he looks like he's almost put a bit of muscle on. Not a lot, but he does look like he can. Maybe he spent the injury in the gym just trying to build himself up because he was a bit too lightweight, and I think it started to affect his confidence. But we'll go on to the giant killing they called it. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about Bradford. That was what I wanted to talk about. There you go, Ryan. I've remembered the topic. I thought of a topic at work today, and when I got home, I couldn't remember what it was. Bradford complained that they're not on TV. Mr. Yellow, on your journey up to the Premier League, not to give it away that you're in the Premier League with Portsmouth, but on your journey, did you get featured much on TV in your cup runs, or were you shunned like Bradford are?
There was that one season, I think, where, because most of the time we had pretty piss poor luck with the cups, particularly once we got to the top flight. But there was that one year, if you remember, where we had a cup run because we knocked out the likes of Stoke. This was when we were in League One.
Well, you actually beat Stoke.
Yeah, we actually beat Stoke.
The money spenders.
They weren't money spenders at the time. I think they've got oil money. That's what it said in a news article the other day. But yeah, no, we did get featured on television that year, I think. But most of the time, not really, no. And that's probably not going to change anytime soon because the game doesn't consider us a big club yet.
They don't like you, no. The game literally does not like you. You're the only person who gets in the top 4, and then the game goes, yeah, but he's still crap, so you're not getting anything. So come on, give us something.
One day.
Yeah, I mean, what actually as well, players running out of contracts. I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to randomly think of things from your save. Again, I'm not going to give much away. Go and watch it, people. But Ryan, have you ever had the situation where you're managing a club in England, the player you want to buy is based in England, his contract's less than a month left, and yet you still can't offer him a contract?
I don't think so.
Because I didn't understand why he couldn't offer the contract, and you ended up having to spend big money on this guy just to sign him.
22.5 million, I think it cost, and he only had a month left on his contract.
I mean, James, have you come across that, James? James alive?
Sorry, I didn't quite get that.
There was less than a month left on the contract, James, of a player. Both clubs were based in England, but for some reason he still couldn't offer him a contract.
I think that is. Were the teams in the same league?
I think they were. It was from the top flight, wasn't it? Yeah.
He was at Southampton, but he was on loan. But
I think I'm pretty sure it's down to like roughly the last week or so. You can eventually offer them a contract, but it goes right to the end of the season before you can.
I think it's one of those situations where you sat watching it, aren't you? You're watching that player fit in, you just keep thinking another club's going to come in for this guy.
Precisely.
Yeah, and you just start thinking, no, it's going to happen, so you just then quickly chuck an offer in, don't you?
But that was the thing that I didn't get. Like, usually when a player's in, like, the less time they have left on their contract, the lower their value is, and therefore the cheaper you can get them for. As, you know, case in point, Kieran Griffiths, the way his value fell off.
Yeah.
But with this lad, like, his value was something about 4 or 5 million, and obviously that's not really representative of their actual overall value to a team, which is why I then put a decent bid for him. But Southampton were haggling sort of the 40 million on him, which is ridiculous.
It's just mental, isn't it? I mean, I know you are...
Is he English?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably why as well.
Exactly, I mean...
to be quite realistic with English players.
Realistic?
The German one.
I think this is the first season he's been able to sign any English players.
Yeah, exactly. But that German player I was telling you about.
Yes, they just...
The one at 146 million pounds.
That was one where you bid for somebody and it was 110 and you thought, oh, I can't get any worse than this, and then the next player was 140.
Just dip in the ocean, why not?
Dip in the ocean. He wishes. But I think one thing I want to ask is, why don't you bring Kieran Griffiths back? He hasn't got a club, unless he's now got one.
As far as I know, and I checked as of episode
Check
118.
Last episode. Oh, bloody hell, you're quite ahead, I'm sure.
Well, I had to.
115, I think I watched today.
116 came out today, I think.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to see that
Alright.
yet, so don't tell me what happened.
I won't. But yeah, no, as of 118, he hasn't got a club. The reason I'm bringing him back is just because his wages. It's a waste of 30 grand a week.
See, that's true as well, Ryan, is he's able to bring players in from the continent, from Brazil, etc. as well, and the wages seem to be just a lot less than the English players, just mental wages, and Welsh players in Griffith's case.
They've been okay, actually.
I think
it's not so much the wages. I never really got to the wages part with most of the English players. When I went after that goalkeeper when Liverpool got relegated, I didn't even get anywhere near the wages.
It's I mean, what's Santos on now? He's on like 100 grand a week.
140.
140. Oh, Jesus.
But,
See,
come on, it's Santos.
I genuinely I can't stress enough to James, Ryan, and anyone who listens. You have to catch up, even if you just go back to the start of this season and just start following. Because it's just an awesome series, and I come home from bloody work, and I can start thinking, I might search this player, and then I go, oh crap, it's a region on frickin' bloody Pompey save. It's like, I'm sure I imagined this player was like awesome, and I wanted to sign him.
You're after Pipoka.
I'm just after Santos. I can give up my whole team to get Santos in. Oh no, and King Norman.
Oh, and you might be wanting Artubia.
No, I literally just want them two. I don't want the rest of your team. Oh, no, Ivanovic.
The Wizard of Oz, surely.
He doesn't impress me as much. Whenever you play him, I just keep thinking, no, swap him. You're getting in King Norman's way, get out the way. He's too attacking, he keeps getting in King Norman's way.
Yeah, he's still got 15 goals.
Yes, he's good, decent. Don't give away too much. But we'll move away because I still haven't convinced Ryan to give up his life and turn to the dark side of YouTube. One day, James, I want to ask you, might just say no. Have you recorded your new series and will you give it away yet or not?
No, I will in about an hour, and no.
Brilliant. Cheers, James. No, I will not tell you. The next topic is the experience in football. Now, this is brought up because of the likes of Eddie Howe having the Bournemouth job, the likes of Tim Sherwood with very little experience getting the Villa job. Obviously, he stepped up, didn't he? He stepped up from the youth team to manage Tottenham. He managed a good side and managed to get a decent win percentage, but he wasn't there for long. He's ended up getting moved on. Now he's got himself another Premier League job. Does experience in football, does it matter? Ryan, I was trying to decide who we would ask.
I think I'd give a fine example of Jose Mourinho. He doesn't have much experience as a football player, but look at him as a manager. No doubt he is a fantastic manager. So Alex Ferguson wasn't the best player, had more experience because he played internationally. Fantastic manager, so experience doesn't matter.
Wenger, yeah, but then are they good examples? Because like Mourinho started a low league club in Portugal.
I think it's much easier now as a guy going from out of professional football playing to get a job in the management. I mean, we're looking at I think it's Lee Johnson at Oldham, the youngest manager in England or Britain, and then there's a young guy at Livingston called Mark Burchill. There's Carl Robinson, Eddie Howe, Tim Sherwood, Gary Monk. There just seem to. I can't think of any of those that had that much experience down the leagues and built up their reputation. Even Tim Sherwood, he just got thrown into it, and now I think he could have, if he wanted it, had the QPR job, the West Brom job, and if he'd put his name in the hat, I think Newcastle might have taken a punt on him.
Yeah, I think well, it's like you just said there, isn't it? They moved straight in. I mean, one person who I think deserves a lot of credit is Justin Edinburgh, who to a lot of listeners won't even know who he is. But I saw a piece on him over the weekend. He's the new Gillingham manager. Yeah. And he's worked his way through non-league. He's done well with Newport County, taking them up, and now he's got the Gillingham job. And I think that's I think for managers to sit back in the chair and know that they've done well, I think that's the route.
Yeah, I mean,
The route I personally would want to take.
He's took the hard way. He knows what it's like at the bottom of, well, lower down the English tiers, out the Football League they were. So one day, if and when he makes it higher up or in the Premier League, he'll appreciate how he got there, and he'll know what it's like to go from working with the basics to working with everything.
And before people say that where he's a nobody, he played for Tottenham, I think it was. Yeah. So he's not just a nobody who's made his way in management. He's one of the people we kind of thinking about who were good players, but they haven't just walked into a management job. They've worked hard to get the job. One thing I do want to bring up, I'm going to go to Mr. Yellow because I want to put him under the pressure. It's obviously a very, very sore subject, but Sol Campbell brings it up a lot, is the race issue. Is there an issue with race when it comes to management?
Well, I mean, if you look at the proportion of sort of like, if you took like the playing staff of the 92 Football League clubs and then had that as a sort of percentage with regard to race, and then compared that to the managerial staff, you would almost certainly see a very large disparity in the numbers. So whether that is a race issue, like in terms of like institutional racism, or whether that is just to do with people's personal choices in becoming managers or not, is a different matter entirely, and obviously that's not something I could speculate on personally. But you don't see a lot of like the best managers in Europe, or not the best even, but the managers at the big clubs tend not to be black. Yeah. It's not because black managers aren't any good, because obviously they are. There's lots of incredible managers out there, and it's just interesting that that isn't the case, basically. I mean, looking at people like Terry Connors, and obviously Chris Ramsey now is managing a Premier League club, and I think the last black manager at the Premier League club was either Paul Ince or Terry Connors when he was in charge of Wolves. It just doesn't seem to happen enough.
It's strange, isn't it? I mean, I'm wrong. I think my view on it is that it's just coincidental. I think it's just a coincidence that there is not many. But it is an issue that gets brought up a lot. That's why I wanted just to mention on the show. I mean, what's your thought, Ryan? Is Ryan alive? Are you alive, Ryan? Damn it, we made him fall asleep. Great work, lads. Right, well, balls with them. We'll jump on to the next subject. James, do you want to tell us about your database release today in a bit more detail?
Yeah, I released a database today. It was for the first time in 2 weeks. I usually, during the transfer window, I do it every 5 to 6 days, but it's a little bit quiet at the minute. I've just released one. It had about 600 or 700 changes since the last time, so yeah, it just covers all transfers, the staff changes, contract renewals, squad numbers, release contracts, loans of 6 months plus, managers at new clubs. I've added around, I think it's about 27 new potential wonder kids. I added another one about half an hour before the release. So yeah, I mean I think it's had around 70,000 downloads since FM15 came out, which is quite-ish so far, but we've still got, of course, well, I'm judging on last year's 255,000, so, but last week's database got, I think, just under 10,000 downloads, so that's pretty good.
That's good, though. I mean, it's the time of the year as well, isn't it? I mean, a lot of people are just waiting for the official one.
Yeah, but then, of course, once we approach August and that transfer window opens, people will start to obviously come back to us again and
exactly
download that, and that's where we'll really pick up. So, as I say, 255,000 downloads last year. If we get around 4,000 to 5,000 a week, that's our rough number, and I'm happy with that. It means that we're keeping the same download count as we did last year. So,
I think you were saying they'll come back in August. I think as soon as there's a managerial change, I think you'll start seeing it again, won't you? A lot will come back then.
Well, yes, and also a lot of people will come to us at the end of May, start of June as well, because they'll be wanting to play with teams who have been promoted and relegated. I mean, yeah. I very highly doubt it, but say Dortmund did somehow get relegated, how many people would want to play as them straight away?
That's a good point. That is actually a great point, because there'd be so many. I I mean, I can't see it happening, but it's going to be. If it did happen, it's going to be amazing. But then people like myself, and you've heard so many people, no doubt, Mr. Yellow from Reservoir, no doubt you've heard so many people say, "Oh, I can't see it happening. I can't see it happening." But no doubt everyone at the start of the season said, "I can't see them being down there."
True, and I think everyone said they couldn't see Newcastle getting relegated a couple of seasons ago, and it happened. These things do actually happen.
Why do you have to bring that up?
That was the most recent example.
That was exactly what ran through my head there and then. Never in my life did I see Newcastle getting relegated.
That was so Aston Villa as well. No wonder you don't like them, James.
We don't talk about that day.
No, I'd rather not.
Worst day in football for me ever. I'd rather go through a derby drubbing again than through that.
Tell you what, we'll talk about Fulham getting relegated.
Yeah, but we weren't too big to fail, were we?
Oh, so
They spent 12 million on Ross McCormack, so
that's a shocking deal.
Thing is though, that like if you actually look at the details of the transfer, it was 5 million up front, and the rest was all in bonuses.
So if he doesn't achieve how good they expect, they don't pay anything.
Basically, things were like after promotion, after a certain number of goals, appearances, international caps potentially, all that kind of stuff, I believe.
Oh, you're laughing then.
Exactly. I mean, 5 million is still a lot, but he has still turned in a dozen goals this year, and I think, if we can get a decent run going, he might be able to get even better with that. He's teamed up quite well with Roddy Yeager up top.
Yeah, I was just about to ask. Sorry, go on, James.
I think most people think it was 12 million. Now, if everybody realised it was only 5, nobody would be saying anything about that many goals.
Exactly. But unfortunately, the overall figure that was touted around by the media was 12 million. It's the same with the things like, I think it's because of the hype regarding Kostas Mitroglou. Obviously, because that was 11.75 million, I think, and that was a big lump sum fee. So I think when it was rumoured that we were buying McCormack for the same type of money, everyone just assumed it was the same type of deal, but it wasn't the case at all. A lot of the deals for the players we brought in have been highly structured, from what I've heard.
Yeah, a lot of transfers nobody actually knows about. I mean, we know nothing. We know what we read, and according to so many sources, Newcastle signed Cabela for 7 million, and others they signed him for 12 million. It just shows we don't really know anything. We know what people write.
I think as well is, as they said about the structured deal, I think 99% of deals are structured now, aren't they? So I think a lot of the time you'll hear 15 million, for example, and like I said, that 15 million might be only if he ends up making 1 million appearances for England, for example. So, exactly. But as we have a Fulham fan on, actually, I do want to ask about this Mitroglou. Yeah, I know how to pronounce it. What happened? So literally, it's like the only question is just like, what happened?
So basically, joined in January. I believe the fee was around about 11 million or something. Made a few appearances, got injured almost immediately, if I recall. I think he signed for us injured as well. In the summer, of course, fell out with Felix Magath, along with everybody else in the south of England. And he's on loan at Olympiacos at the moment, basically back to the club that we bought him from. And I don't know if there is a sell-on, not like a sell-on clause, but like a buying fee, like a clause within the contract that states that they can buy him at the end of the loan deal or not. Because as a result of getting relegated, a lot of our players that were on long contracts, like Stekelenburg and Kacaniklic and Ruiz and all that, were loaned out initially to get them off the wage bill, basically. And obviously he was just another one in that long line. All of these players are technically still on the books at Fulham.
Which is scary.
Yeah, but you consider how much money people like Stekelenburg were on.
Yeah, especially if the other clubs decide not to buy them at the end of the loan deals.
Well, that only really applies to Mitroglou, because I believe Stekelenburg and Ruiz and I believe their contracts all conveniently end at the end of this season, so they would at least leave on a free transfer. But Mitroglou, of course, was on like a 4 or 5 year deal or something. So either we have to sell him at a cut price, which is almost certainly what will happen, unless some miracle happens and we happen to get promoted this year, which I think is an icicle's chance in hell of happening.
I think, yeah, I'm actually surprised when you mentioned how many goals McCormack has. But James, I'm just trying to think, who has been the biggest flops at Newcastle, would you say?
In when? The last year?
Just last few years, I've seen his Mitroglou's only a couple of years or a year.
Oh, there's a few. Boom Song, one great season in Scotland, 8 million, and then a couple of years of nightmares to partner Titus Bramble, absolute shambles. Them two.
Great defensive partnership.
Albert Luque, 9 million paid for him. Started against Man United, he destroyed them, and then came off injured after 60 minutes, and we never see him again, barely, for 2 years. There's been a few, I think.
Isco.
Oh, he's back. You woke up.
Yeah, someone knocked the door.
How dare they?
I mean, Cisco's his highlight in Newcastle was a hat trick for the reserves 3 years into his career at Newcastle. So that tells you all.
Did well. Match ball. Hello.
Oh yeah, everybody.
That would be on his mantelpiece, James.
Well, there's been so many. I mean, it's too many to name. There's Hugo Viana, great debut away to West Brom. Scored a free kick. Never seen him again, barely.
I think I'm a bit Viano. Unfortunately, I can't slag him off because on FM he was an absolute beast.
I think technically he was a good player, but I don't think he adjusted to England well enough. But we could go on, but we do that now.
We're just basically naming all the Newcastle team for the last few years, just leaving out a couple of legends like Shiva. What about yourself, Ryan, apart from the likes of Jemba and, in my opinion, Veron? I don't know what's your opinion on that, Ryan? Veron, going back a few years, obviously.
He was a good player, but he just seemed to fall off. Fitness levels seemed to drop, and unfortunately, it wasn't to be for him. He didn't seem to settle for me as well, like a few players at Newcastle. The player that James just said that I've just completely forgot, but there's a few players that Man United have that have flopped. Anderson is a fine example.
Who missed a penalty at his new club, by the way.
Oh yeah, he's just absolutely useless. Luke Chadwick, I don't know if we could class him as a flop, but he's got more Premier League medals than Steven Gerrard, so.
Brilliant, you had to get that in.
Had to get it in. Yeah, there's been a few. Alan Smith, maybe. He seemed to come later on, but.
Well, would you call Alan Smith a flop? He didn't do too bad.
He didn't do. He got injured, so it's probably not classed as a flop. But Robbie Savage, bit of a useless player, and.
Poor Robbie Savage.
Oh no, don't feel sorry for him. He doesn't deserve it.
Oh, I like Robbie Savage, and you know that I must be the only person who doesn't mind his commentary as well.
Oh, I can't stand his commentary. He's an absolute lemon.
Yeah, you can't stand anyone.
No, I can't.
Can we just say Ryan is not in the mood today? if people wonder why I keep having jibes at him. Poor Robbie Savage. He's not that bad. I'll tell you what though, I don't know what you lads thought. I'm going to go to Mr. Yellow about this. Over the weekend, they had the Arsenal game on BT Sport. And I thought, right, I'm going to watch this. So I sat down, they go, making his first appearance on BT Sport, Andy Townsend. I was thinking, how... You just think, really? These people obviously never watched ITV. Because if they had, there's no way they would have said, do you know, we're actually going to pay you to come on TV, Andy.
He is...
Guarantee walk to the ground in excitement.
I think
he shouldn't be in and around the studio ever again.
One second, I have no idea if Ryan was talking to us there. What did you say, Ryan?
I think his football knowledge could go on the back of a stamp.
Oh, I thought you were telling someone to put a stamp on something. That's it, you don't get this on any other weekly show, can I just say? But we've got 1 minute left, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand over to Mr. Yellow, and what I want him to do is I want you to convince people to watch your ongoing series, which, can I just say, the Red Star one doesn't get nowhere near as much views as it should, because it's such a battle, so watch it.
I think you should sell it to me. I don't watch much YouTube, so try and sell
You don't watch any? I reckon I've got to force you to watch my own.
Sell
it to me. Think of it like an interview.
I just hate selling myself. It's one of those things where it's like, if you like FM, then obviously there's no reason why particularly you'd like my series. It's just that I like to think that I'm just playing it as if I'm a normal person playing it, and I react kind of the way a normal person would do. So
I don't think
anger and
normal
all.
people react like that. To fix! Get out the way, stupid cat.
But like, I think the reason the Red Star one doesn't get as much views is possibly because of the time it goes out, and just because maybe people aren't as interested in saves with slightly more obscure sides. Not that they're particularly obscure, won the European Cup and all that, but at the same time, it isn't an English club, so perhaps that does mean that the interest isn't quite as peaked. And a lot of people might have seen my channel because of the Portsmouth save, and as a result, that's why they only watch that. So I think that's probably the reason that it gets less love, so to speak. But I think that the sort of community and the feedback I get on the Red Star save sometimes is even more concentrated because of that reason.
That's true.
There's less sort of less casual viewing. It's more of the people that watch every single episode of mine that watch it. So you kind of recognise the commenters on a daily basis. It's quite cool.
The more die hard fans.
I suppose so, yeah. But more, I'd like to think of them less as fans, as more just people that enjoy Football Manager as much as I do, really.
He just doesn't want to admit it that he's got a set of ultras.
That's
basically what's happening. He's got his own ultras section who just bounce around to Red Star on the night. But yeah, I definitely think it's worth a watch. That's actually one of my fears. Is my new series is based in Scotland. Actually, so stalkers can go and watch him through his window. It's based very close to James, we'll say. And do you know what? I'm really enjoying it. I've recorded a few episodes in advance, and what a challenge it is to play in the bottom league in Scotland. I mean, the first player I tried to sign, I could only offer him 20 quid a week, and I was just like, oh, this is going to be tough. And then I set myself the rule of never signing players who are not transfer listed or on a free transfer. So it's like, okay, no, I can't sign that person. I found a couple of really good people who were in non-league, but they wanted like £50 for him, and I was like, no, it's money, can't buy him, sorry. But yeah, that's just done. Thank you everybody who tuned in and listened. We have just rabbited on, like I said to people before we started we would do. Thanks for coming on, Mr. Yellow.
No worries, man.
Thank you, James and Ryan, as always.
No worries.
And on Thursday night at the minute we have Fox in the Box. Now, I actually asked Fox in the Box who he wanted to come on the show on Thursday, and his reply was SecondYellowCrd. Now, I actually replied, I don't want to take over his life. But if you decide you're bored, just give me a mention and you can come on. But okay. I'm not going to force you because it is literally stalking. But even worse, I'm now going to leave and go and watch your Portsmouth save before I record. So thank you for listening, everybody, and we will see you on Thursday, and if not, next Monday. Shout goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. The excitement's unreal.